How many of you in the room remember the days of the cassette tape mixtape? Come on, raise your hand high. Raise your hand high. Yeah. Nate, that sings on our worship team up here, he told me this week he's never physically seen a cassette tape. I fired him on the spot. You're out. You're making me feel old. Never physically seen a cassette tape. Listen, y'all remember the days of getting a cassette tape, putting it into your cassette tape player, waiting for that new song by New Kids on the Block to come on? You guys remember NKOTB? Anybody remember them? Come on. All right, thank you. It comes on, you hit the record button, and you wait for the song to end. You hope the DJ's not talking. You want to get the perfect recording of it. And then, man, if you're really high tech, you get the dual cassette tape. So now you can go get like your Whitney Houston album and put it in and go to the song you like and add it also. So you got some radio songs. You got some of your favorite songs. Then you take it out of the cassette tape. You put a heart on the graphic, maybe put a heart up here in this area. And if you're really cool, you put mixtape with 2 X's. You know what I'm saying? MIXX tape, right? I mean, big time. Those of you in the room that are like 30 and younger, y'all have no clue. Y'all have no clue, right? So you take that to school the next day, and you give it to your boo, and you hope that she'll go listen to it, and it will change everything. I'm going to just be honest with you. I've had mixtapes change the course of my life. Jess and I, years ago, we were dating, and it was early in our dating stage, and we broke up, probably because something she did, and we're dating, and I went home, and a little bit more technology at this time, so I got a CD, and I put a CD in, and I started making a mixtape. Not the full song, y'all. I'm talking just parts of some Casey and JoJo. Come on, somebody. Some Babyface, some Brian McKnight. What? I mean, good stuff. Come on, Rogers. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And then I capped it off with some Celine Dion, okay? Yeah. Right. I mean, come on. Y'all feel it in the room. And so I got that, and I took it to her car where she worked. I put it on her window with a card and some flowers, and I went home and sat by the phone just waiting for her to put that in, and it was going to change everything. And can I tell you, we're married today because of a mixtape. Then it wasn't that many years ago that I got on, and Spotify makes you can make a mixtape so easy. You make a playlist, and I made her a playlist, and can I tell you, I've got a little boy today because of a mixtape. Come on. Mixtapes. Stay with me. But here's the interesting thing about a mixtape, man. It was work. You had to put the work in, right? It took patience. Waiting by the radio, come on, will the song ever come back on? It took patience. It took time. It took effort. And let me just tell you, love, the world likes to define love. Let's define love for a minute. Love is an action. Love is an action. How many in the room are married today? Come on, make some noise. You would not be married still today if it wasn't for you knowing at least part of the time that love is an action. How many single people in the room today? Yeah. Well, come on. How many of you would rather just remain anonymous about your marital status? Okay, in the in the 8:30, somebody was really excited about that. Like, yeah, I want to remain anonymous. Love is an action. Love is something that we do. Love is not about what the world is defining it, right? It's about, hey, for our younger generation, yeah, I watched The Bachelor. I can't wait till I get older. I'm going to pick 20 models. I'm going to spend a few days. I'm going to determine which one is the winner. I'm going to give her a ring, and then we're going to live happily ever after. That's what the world, in Hollywood and movies, everything is telling us that love is all about these feelings and this emotion. And believe it or not, there's a science to that, because your brain does have these chemical reactions when you first meet someone and that first phone call and all of that. There are some drugs that are going on in your head that are causing you to feel some things. But true love, it's an action. True love is an action. Scott Nemick that goes to SoCo here in Bentonville, he posted something yesterday. He said, "Today I was filling up my glass from the fridge door. One ice cube shot off the rim and landed on the floor by my feet. Rather than kick it under the fridge, I decided to pick it up, throw it in the sink. Not all heroes wear capes." Love is an action. I'm so proud of Scott. You did it, Scott. How many men in the room would admit you've kicked it under the fridge many times in your life? All right. Love is an action. Let me prove it to you a little more. Matthew 5, verse 44. Jesus says this, "Love your enemies. Love your enemies." I don't know about you, but if I'm commanded to love my enemy, that is not something I'm going to wake up every day and think, I cannot wait to go love my enemy. My boss fired me last week, ruined my life, but I'm going to go take him his favorite Starbucks drink today and let him know how much I love him. Right? It's a choice. Jesus was setting the tone that love is a choice. Love is an action, and we have to choose to love. Let's talk more about it. John 3:16. You guys are familiar with this verse. God so loved, and this is agapeo, the kind of love, the world that he gave. What did he give? The most valuable thing, his son. Because he loved, because he had agape kind of love, this is the love the Bible mostly refers to. Agape love, it's an unconditional, overwhelming type of love. Because he loved, he put his love into action, and he gave his son for all of us. That's love, right? Are you following me? This is not the love the world tells you. The love the world tells you about is a love where you need to make sure you're getting something out of the relation. You need to make sure you're getting something back. You need to make sure that it's perfect. You need to make sure all this ridiculous stuff. No. Love is about an action. Your love is about an action. So I want to talk to all the married people in the room, but honestly, everyone in the room, and I hope you'll take some notes. But let's talk about how we can practically put love into action in our relationships, into our future relationships. So first, I want to talk to the wives in the room, okay? All the wives, make some noise in the room, okay? I want to talk to you. Let me tell you some things that you can put love into action, and let me talk on behalf of your husband and let you know some things he needs. Number one, your husband needs respect. Find out what it means to me. I can't sing, so I just turn every song into a rap, and I'm not good at that either. But he needs respect. He needs respect. And listen, ladies, I'm not talking like let him walk all over you, let him verbally abuse you, let him treat you poorly. No. He just needs to know that you respect his decisions. You respect him as a man. You respect him, and this is a big deal. Now, women, your husband needs to respect you as well. But can I just tell you, men are different from women. Have we figured that out yet? Yeah. And men are very different from women. And this is a way bigger deal to the man than it is to the woman. Again, the woman, guys, we want to respect our wives as well. This is a big deal. Ephesians 5:33 talks about it. It says, "So again, each man must love his wife as he loves himself." Hello, men. But also, the wife, she's got to respect her husband. It was a big deal then. It's a big deal now. When God created man and he created a woman, they're very different, and they have different things that they need. Let me tell you, you want to put love into action, make sure you're respecting your husband. Number two, this is a big one. Husbands need affirmation. On a Sunday, I can get up here and I can preach, and afterwards, every one of you could come tell me, "Pastor Brad, the greatest message of all time, you just spoke it. I gave my life to Jesus 14 times during the message. It was so powerful. It changed everything for me." And after that, I can go get in the car and head home, and I can tell my wife, I can kind of like, "So what'd you think? What'd you think, girl?" And she could be like, "You went a little long." And I will have forgotten everything you said to me, because my wife, what she says matters so much more, carries so much more weight than what anyone else says. I need her affirmation. I need her. Listen, I will send her a text of what I'm wearing because I need her to affirm that it looks right. And some of you today are like, well, you apparently didn't send it to her today. I had someone in the first service come up and like, hey, I want you to meet my daughter. She's wearing the same pants as you. So I'm going to really need some affirmation after church, honey. Maybe we'll break out the mixtape. Anyway. Affirmation, this is a big deal for your husband to know that, man, you affirm him as a man, that you affirm what he's doing. You're affirming him as providing for you and what his decisions and choices. This is big. Men in the room, come on, give me a good amen if this is a big deal for you. Yeah, y'all are so nervous. It's so funny because I'm going to get to the women in a little while, and they'll be happy to let you know how they feel. But the men are all like, is this a trick? Is this a trick right now? It's Valentine's Day coming up, Pastor Brad. What are you doing to us? Number 3, he needs you to be his BFF. Listen, I know some of you have your best friends, and you talk about your best friends. Your husband, he needs to know that he is your best friend forever, your BFF. And look, I'll be honest, I have some friends in my life. Pastor Ryan, our Rogers campus pastor. Pastor Ryan, I love you. And Pastor Ryan, he thinks that he's my best friend. He's not. He's not even close. My wife is my best friend. I'm sorry, Ryan, I know you're a sensitive little guy. I love you. I don't know why that's funny, but maybe because it's true. I don't know. He's sick right now. Bless his heart. Rogers, man, he's been singing, loving y'all. He's sick today. I'm so proud. I shouldn't say that about him, but it is true, and he is not my best friend. My wife is my best friend. She's got girls that are her besties, and they hang out, and I love that and whatever, but I know that my wife is my best friend. We do life together. We have experiences together. We travel together. I'm not doing that with all my other friends. I'm doing that with my best friend forever, my BFF. And husbands, wives, your husband needs to know. They need to know when you're off talking to your girlfriends and all that, that at the end of the day, you're coming home and your husband is your best friend, right? Number 4 is this. He needs trust. He needs to know you trust him to make decisions, not just trusting him to not because of infidelity or something like that, but trusting him to make decisions and provide for the family. And let me help out with the whole trust thing. If you right now in the room, if you're married and you have social media, if you have email addresses, if you have computers that have passwords on them that your spouse doesn't know, we need to fix that. In no way should your spouse not have access to everything you can access. She needs to know what's going on. She needs to know who's DMing you. She needs to know who's messaging you. And my wife told me a while back, she's like, you know, when we first got married, I got your phone and I went through it and I deleted a bunch of numbers for you. Yeah, I've been trying to find my mom's number for weeks. She just deleted them. And then I think she got on Instagram and unfollowed a bunch of people. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's fine. That's fine. And look, it's about trust. It's about making sure there's no little hidden secret corners in our heart. It's so important. Now, listen, trust is a big deal, husbands. You want your wife's trust. First, it starts with you being trustworthy, and by doing things like that. But also, wives, you need to know how much this matters to your husband. Now, the 5th one, I'm about to get to it, but I need you to know, I'm not going to get rated R or anything like that. If there's young ears in the room, let me just be honest. The world, school, friends are teaching them about love and sex in a very unbiblical way. So let's not be weird and decide that we're not going to talk about it in church. Let's talk about it in a godly way in the church. Is that okay with you guys? So number 5, this is a big one. Husbands in the room, there may be some running the aisles right now. Your husband needs you sometimes to initiate intimacy. Sometimes he needs you to be the one to initiate. Man, husbands are so quiet, but I know inside you're like, preach, preacher! Revival! Ushers, let's go ahead and take up another offering right now. Bentonville, Rogers, let's get the ushers out. Sorry, Dupree, after the last service, everybody started bringing me money instead of you money, but now let me tell you why this is important. This is your husband's biggest way of communicating with you. And all the other 4 things I just mentioned are magnified when this happens. Trust, it's magnified because this is our affirmation, respect, all of those things are magnified to a new level when you initiate intimacy, because it's you saying yes to the other 4 things that I just mentioned. Now again, this isn't always the case. You have to always initiate, but sometimes your husband needs you to initiate it because it's checking the box on the other 4 things. Does this make sense? Are we following today? Awesome. Now, let me talk to the husbands. Come on, ladies, make some noise if you want me to talk to your husband right now for you. You're a little quieter. Number 1, let's talk about what your wife needs. Your wife needs love and action. She needs you to provide security and protection. This is huge. Your wife needs to know things are going to be okay. You're going to provide for her. You're going to provide for the kids. You're going to create a safe place. Security and protection. Number 2, actually, let me get to this passage in Ephesians real quick. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Love your wives just as Christ loved the church. Man, that is love right there. That is a big challenge for us to love our wives, and we do that by providing the security and protection. Number 2, she needs unconditional love. Your wife, let me tell you, husbands, let me help you out. Your wife needs to know you love her in an unconditional way. Let's talk about what conditional love is. Conditional love says this: I will love you only if these things happen. Conditional love says, I don't know if I can handle the tough times. If things get too bad, I'm out. Conditional love says, I might not be able to forgive you if you tell me the truth, if you tell me what really happened. And that's where the trust begins to be a struggle, because we're afraid that our husbands don't love us unconditionally, so we want to keep things because he might walk out on us. Why do we know this? Well, because half of marriages end in divorce, and that tells me that if half of them are ending in divorce, that there are a lot of them that are really unhappy even though they're still married. And I want to help that, because I'm so sick of the enemy destroying marriages, destroying generations, destroying families, destroying children. I'm sick of that. And listen, if you're in the room and you've been divorced, I'm talking about let's go forward. Let's not go backwards. Let's talk about what's ahead for you, right? Let's stop letting the enemy destroy marriages, and this isn't just outside. Come on. In fact, a recent study I saw said more Christian couples divorce than non-Christian couples. That's a problem, because we've got the truth. Let's talk about what unconditional love says. I will love you even if. No matter what comes my way, I'll stay with you no matter what. I'll always love you even in the tough times. Look, on the honeymoon, I'm telling you, it's pretty easy to wake up in love, right? I mean, you're sitting out in the sun, you got the waves from the beach, you got people bringing you food. Man, it's easy to wake up in love. But what about 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, when the finances aren't great, when people are sick, when you're going through a difficult time, when the job's not working out? And finally, I know I'll still love you even if you tell me the truth. No matter what you tell me, I need you to know. Husbands, your wife needs to know that you have an unconditional love for her. All right, number 3, your wife needs attentive, open communication. You come home from work and your wife goes, hey, how was your day? And you go, it's good. That is not attentive, open communication. Your wife needs you to say, well, here's what happened. I got there this morning, was a few minutes late, but everything was okay. Sat down at my desk for a while. Then I went to lunch with Bob, and Bob, he's always like, I'll pay for it, but then he doesn't pay for it. I end up paying for it. Bob, well, man, I go on and on about Bob. Your wife wants you to go on and on. She wants to know how your day was. You may not really care I know you care about how her day was, but you may not really care to know all the details. Your wife wants to know the details. I'll come home from an important meeting, from maybe somebody here at church or whatever. I'll get home, and Jess will go, well, how was the meeting? And I'm like, yeah, it was good. It was a good meeting. And she'll roll her eyes. I'm like, what? She's like, tell me more about the meeting. And here's what she wanted me to do. Well, I got there, and there was a chair, and it was blue. And honey, I kid you not, I've never seen this shade of blue in my life, and it blew my mind. And I sat there observing the chair forever, thinking, what shade of blue is that? And then I sit down in the chair, and it was not one of those chairs you want to sit in for long. It's about a 5-minute chair, and then your hiney starts to get a little tired, right? And that's, okay, maybe not that extreme, but your wife, she wants to know the details of your day. She wants to know the details of your life. She wants attentive, open communication. Rogers, come on, men in the room in Rogers, Bentonville, I'm about to blow your mind. I saw this week that in many cases, a woman's need from her husband to have attentive and open communication is equal to a man's need for intimacy. I'm surprised some of you men are right now saying, so honey, tell me about your day. Let's just have some open Let me have some open communication with you right now. I'm all in. Don't worry about what that pastor's saying. Let's just talk it out right now. Some of you husbands are like, man, I'm taking notes right now. She needs that communication. And it's easy for us to get in our head that we're sharing and we're telling. And I'll be honest, there are times I feel so awful because I'll have had something happen. I'll have called, my other BFF, Pastor Ryan, and I'll have told some people, and I'll get home, and then we'll be talking about it, and Jess will be like, you didn't tell me about that. And I'm like, oh, that's going to hurt. That's going to leave a mark. Because I've failed to make sure that my best friend, that I'm communicating with her, and I'm sharing the big things and the big news. Come on, husbands, I want to help you out. Let me tell you what else your wife needs. Number 4 is this. She needs help, and she needs a break. Come on, ladies. Rejoice. They need help, and they need a break. And let me just tell you guys, here is how we're wired. There's some ladies in the room, they're stay-at-home moms. Your job is way harder than your husband's job, all right? And he knows that, and he just isn't good at saying it. Some of you, you've got kids, and you also work a job. You're working so much harder. And somewhere along the line, men, we get in our head that it's also her job to do everything at the house. You handle the dishes, the laundry, and all of that, and I'm good. I'm going to go watch SportsCenter, right? Listen, your wife, I'm helping some husbands right now. Woo! Your wife, she needs help, and she needs a break sometimes. And let me tell you, here's how we're wired. Let me just share a story with you. A while back, Jess and I had talked about this a little bit because we have open, attentive communication, right? And so one day, she's doing something, and I got up, and I'm like, I'm going to make the bed. So I got up, man, I make the bed, I get it looking good, and I just kind of wait in the room. I'm like, just waiting. And Jess walks in, and I'm like a little puppy that did the right thing for once, man. I'm just like, and she walks in, and she's like, what? I'm like, notice anything different about the house? She's like, I don't know. Maybe right over here in this area. She's like, you made the bed? Yeah, I made the bed. Do you want a cookie? Yeah, I want a cookie. I made the bed. It's a big deal. And I feel like I have changed the world because I made the bed once, and my poor wife makes the bed every day, right? Sometimes she wants you to go say, hey, I'll take care of the dishes. You go chill. Hey, I'll handle the kids tonight. Why don't you go have a break? Let me help. Come on, husbands, take some time. Man, and here's the problem with being a pastor preaching this. My wife this week can say, hey, don't forget what you preach, and now I have to live it out as well. But we have got to make sure that we take some time to give her help and a break. And number 5 is this: she wants to be pursued. Not just pursued when you were dating or when you were getting married, but 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, she wants to be pursued. Ladies, do you want to be pursued? Man, I gave you a really great opportunity right there. Your husband, he is not going to be mad at you. I want you to let him know right now. Do you want to be pursued, ladies? Rogers ladies, I hope you were louder. Listen, you've got to make sure. Listen, Valentine's Day is coming up this week. You still got time. Pursue her. Take her somewhere to dinner. Get a hotel. Get an Airbnb. Do something. Pursue her. Pursue her. This is huge. Husbands, you may not really care if she pursues you. It may not be a big deal for you. It may not be your love language. I'm just going to tell you, every woman's love language is being pursued. They need that. They want that. I love what it says in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 33. Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he'll give you everything you need. God was all about us seeking a relationship. And he built us into relationship. Adam, Eve, relationship. He wants us to pursue him. And let me help you with something. Let's get our priorities straight. God first. I'm going to pursue God first. Secondly, I'm going to pursue my spouse. I'm going to make sure that I always have my priorities in that order and get that straight, because if you ever get them out of priority, get it out of the right range, something is going to be off. Something is going to be off. God first, your spouse second. Amen, somebody? Amen. Finally, I want to share with this, love is a commitment. Love is commitment. Love is I'm all in. Love is I believe the vows that I spoke on my wedding day. I am committed. Love is a commitment. Luke chapter 9, verse 23 says, Then he said to the crowd, Jesus, if any of you want to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross daily, and follow me. Jesus is giving a great example of what agape love is for us as married people. Willing to say yes on the hard days, willing to say yes in spite of everything else, willing to give up my own way for my spouse. Can I say that again? Willing to give up my own way for my spouse's way. Willing to outserve them. Willing to outlove them. Willing to be there even on the days when it is a choice. Because how many of you in the room have been married more than 5 years? Raise your hand. Every one of you, I'm not going to make you raise your hand on this part, but every one of you in Rogers and in Bentonville would admit there are days you wake up and you have to choose love. You have to choose love. And finally this, love is 1 Corinthians 13. I use this passage almost every time I marry someone because it gives us the true definition of what love is. And I want to remind you what agape love is, what kind of love you're supposed to have for your spouse. Can you tune into this real quick? I want everybody to stay tuned in. Don't lose me here. I want you to take a look at this passage and be reminded. As you're loving your spouse, are you being patient? Are you being kind? Are you being envious? Are you boasting? Are you proud? Are you dishonoring? Are you self-seeking? Are you easily angered? Are you keeping record of wrongs? Man, this is the one I always want to point out to married couples. Man, well, you remember 2 days ago when no, that's not love. And if it's not love, then it's not God. Can you hear that again? If it's not love, it's not God. It doesn't keep record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It protects, it trusts, it hopes, it perseveres, because love never fails. Love never fails. You fail. You make mistakes. But the agape love that this passage is referring to, it never fails.